Okay, so welcome back, Elaine, to another Art of Letting Go live session. So let's take a look at today's daily quote. Sure, lead us nicely into the theme of today. Talking again about loving awareness, and today's question is where will all this lead you? What's the end of all your exploring? So the quote addresses that directly. So let's have a look at this quote from T.S. Eliot. Let me share my screen with you. Yeah, so we can read the quote. So kick it off.
We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive at where we started and know the place for the first time.
Yeah, quite a profound quote from a poem called Little Gidding by one of the great poets of the 20th century, T.S. Eliot. He was a poet laureate. He's born in the US, but he spent most of his life in England. Really states the obvious that may have been obscured in your ego's upside down thought system. And so it needs to be deeply contemplated to become obvious to you. So just ask yourself the question now, what will the end of all my exploring be? Close your eyes, take a nice deep breath in. Just sit quietly for a minute or two and ask yourself, what will the end of all my exploring be? And wait for an answer to the question, knowing that an answer will come, not necessarily in words, but in the silence. Maybe you can reach a state where there's just stillness. There's no thought. Nothing comes to you. No thoughts or emotions. But only an experience of deep peace. Just be open to that experience arising. And then you will have experienced the ultimate answer. And just allow that experience to drop in to your awareness. As you're in this experience of deep peace, just contemplate with you. So remember that the hero's journey is circular. And in the final stage of it, you return to the same place as you left. So in other words, you live your life in this world, you return, but now in an enlightened state of mind, in which you truly know yourself for the first time. And this state is what's been called various things in different teachings. The Holy Grail, the Philosopher's Stone, the elixir of life, the ground of being, love itself. This is the essence of who you really are, your true self, your eternal home. It's the final outcome of spiritual practice or transformative work reveals this essence to you as your own most innermost experience of who you are. Know thyself is the inscription at the temple of Apollo at Delphi, which is where the Oracle of Delphi was situated in ancient Greece. Know thyself, not theaton in Greece, in Greek, ancient Greek. Know thyself. And so through the journey, you depart the known world, current world of your known perceptions, your ego. You depart this known world. It's the first phase of the hero's journey. And you go through all of these trials, tribulations, adventures. So there's initiation into the unknown world, into this hidden world that reveals itself through the adventure. And then you return to the known world. So there that's shown. You can open your eyes on that if you want to. And just have a look at the hero's journey diagram. So it starts with the call to adventure, to let go of the known, existing perceptions, or existing so-called knowledge. It's not really knowledge. You think it's knowledge of this world and everything in this world. And you go into the unknown, which is a transformation of your mind. It doesn't mean you travel in. Sometimes you do, but very often you don't go anywhere. It's just going into an unknown domain of different perception of the world. And so the journey, there's mentors, there's these helpers, there's these guides, but there's also the challenges and the temptations. So the helpers and the guides are there to help you through the challenges and the temptations. And I think you experienced quite a lot of that.
I have, yes. Just recently, yes.
Yeah. Which is a good sign, because it means that you're actually on the journey. Yeah, you've accepted the call to adventure.
Oh, yes,
You
yeah.
know,
No,
in the
yeah,
unknown world,
absolutely.
and these things arising as they must. That's part of the journey. The challenges
Mm-hmm.
and the temptations are an integral part of the journey, because you only learn through those. Your awakening only happens when you face the challenges and the temptations. Those are really just reflections of your own ego and your own lack of faith in the truth. And then as you confront them and you overcome them, with the help often of mentors, helpers, guides, you go now into the abyss, which is the death of the ego and the rebirth of a separate self.
Bless you.
At least on the truth of that, and the rebirth of your true self. And that's the whole point. We talked about healing earlier. If that's not happening, if there's no transformation of the self-concept, it's not really healing. It's just trying to use magic to fix a problem in the world. If it's a bodily condition, then it's just a magical solution to this apparent bodily condition. There's no real transformation. The transformation comes with this hero's journey process, where you face your ego, you face all of the challenges and the temptations that the ego brings up, and through your faith and your practice, you overcome them. You die to the ego. You're reborn in the crucible of your own experience, which can be very intense. You can feel like your world's coming to an end. And I know, because I've been through this. It's not a nice experience often, but it's necessary to be reborn. Think of the caterpillar and the butterfly analogy. The caterpillar has to die. And so for the caterpillar, this is death, and it's terrible, and I'm dying. But actually, it's not dying. It's being transformed into the butterfly through this process of the caterpillar dying. Caterpillar must die on the death of the caterpillar. The old self is the foundation of the rebirth. into a new self. So you can't have one without the other. And that's what transformation really involves. A new self, completely transformed self and self-concept and perception of the world that comes out of that. That's what transformation is really about. And then you have this at-one-ment process. And interesting, it uses this language. This is course language, atonement or at-one-ment, as we say it, used in another context. So you're moving towards the at-one-ment of yourself with your source and with everyone else. And that then brings the return. You come back into the known world. The third phase of the journey is return to the known world, having departed it and gone through this profound adventure and initiation into your true self through your experience, through your journey. And then you return with the gift of the goddess. In some of these myths, it's like you come back with a gift. And really that is the awareness of who you are. That gift is the knowledge of who you really are, which you bring back into the known world. And now that becomes transformative. You become a guide and a helper and a healer on someone else's journey, because you carry this knowledge of the unknown, and to them it's still unknown, but to you it's now known. So your job is then to carry this knowledge back to them and communicate it in a way that they can understand and accept. And so it's a cycle. And then someone else's hero's journey, you become, if you've done this, you can become a mentor and a helper and a guide on someone else's journey, which is usually how it works. Because at this point, when you return, you realize, my only function in this world is to help others awaken to the same knowledge that I've attained. That's all I'm here to do. And so you naturally become a teacher and a healer and a guide, and you dedicate your life to that path. And then, then someone else's hero's journey is enriched by yours. That's how it works. If you break this down into more detail, you get the 12 phases. So you can see, and these are played out in Hollywood movie scripts. I talked about movies like The Matrix, it's an obvious one, Avatar, the Star Wars movies, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, and there's many others that have come really on the back of this hero's journey teaching, which was first released to the world in 1949, about 70, in fact, exactly 75 years ago, when this was published, and that really did change the world in so many ways. Arguably, none of these movies would have been made if this book hadn't been written, because people like I've just seen the spelling error there. It's strange, I didn't see that. Jospe. People like Joseph Campbell, people like George Lucas, who created Star Wars, and others started reading the books and understanding this, and then they took it further and they said, well, how can this be used for script writing? Because that's the foundation of a good movie. You need the script, and so they incorporated into the movie scripts. So there's always the starting in the ordinary world. That's where the movie starts. There's a call to adventure. Then often they refuse the call. There's doubt that comes in. They refuse it once. They often meet a mentor who then helps them to cross the threshold of their doubt, and often against resistance, because the known world wants to keep them in the known world. And then they enter this domain of the adventure, where there are inevitably trials, tests. There's allies in this. They have helpers and guides. There's enemies. They approach this inner cave, which is where they're going to face their own ego. That's their ordeal to overcome. And if they go through that and they come out the other side, they're still alive, they seize the reward, which is a knowledge of their true self. Sometimes in movies, they actually get a physical prize, but often it's just they now have understood that they really are a hero. They understand who they really are. And then they come back. They journey home. They understand these ideas of resurrection and at-one-ment, not just intellectually, but experientially. And they return to the society that they left, with this elixir. Sometimes that's, physical, like a philosopher's stone or a holy grail in movies, but often it's just the knowledge that they have. And we like these heroes' journeys. We watch them and we resonate with them because they speak to our own hero self, and they remind us of our own journey through life, the hero's journey we're on, of letting go of negativity and the ego and awakening through this process to our higher self. Okay, so yeah, any questions about that, Alan? Just a recap of the hero's journey. And
Yeah, no, I'm clear on it. Yeah, I've seen it many times, so that's fine. Thank you.
to go back to the quote, the beginning is the ending, but you come back to the place that you left, and you know it for the first time because you've been on this profound journey. And so you have a deeper understanding of this normal world and an ability to help people to transform and transcend that world. And that's part of the unfolding of your journey. Is okay, so how do you return, and how can you help benefit others in this process? And maybe that's the next unfolding. Okay, so how do you live that purpose and become a mentor, guide, a helper on someone else's path? Because then you have to go to another level of teaching rather than just studying and seeking yourself, you see. So that's something to contemplate and just be open to the guidance. Okay, well, show me how I can be truly helpful. That's really the Holy Spirit's prayer. All right, so that leads us into the lesson. How much time do we have? So we could do some text.
Yeah, that would be great.
You got to go and help us 4. We've got 45 minutes.
Well, I mean, if it's a bit later, yeah, we'll try and get the text in. That would be good. Yeah.
Okay. Then we'll come back to the lesson. We'll finish off for that because it's only 2 paragraphs.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just dive into today's text, which is called The Quiet Answer, section 4 of chapter 27. I want to follow in your book. And it is 7 paragraphs, I believe. Yeah. 7 paragraphs with a summary. So, yeah, and this doesn't really need much translation. So read it in the alternative. The only translation is God becomes pure formless awareness of perfect love, and it's in the first person, not the third person. That's standard for all of our translated text.
Yeah. In quietness, all things are answered, and every problem is quietly resolved. In conflict, there can be no answer and no resolution, for its purpose to make no resolution possible and to ensure no answer will be plain. The problem set in conflict has no answer, or it is perceived in different ways. And what would be an answer from one point of view is not an answer in another light. I am in conflict, and so it must, where did it go? Sorry. And so it must be clear that I cannot answer anything at all, for conflict has no limited effects. Yet if pure formless awareness of perfect love gave an answer, there may be a way in which my problems are resolved, for what it wills has already been done. So it's just saying in this quietness, all things are answered and every problem is quietly resolved. The problem set in conflict has no answer. Yeah, which is what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Just going over and over and
round and around in the same thought system. You see, this is what we've got to understand. It's a thought system. You cannot solve As Einstein just put it beautifully, you can't solve these significant problems that we face at the same level of thinking that you were at when you created them. It's not possible. It's within the thought system of the ego. You will remain bound into conflict and into problems because that's the nature of the thought system. You have to go outside of that system to find healing. And that's where so many well-meaning people, students, teachers, healers make a mistake. They try and solve the problem within the framework in which the problem was created. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Which is the
Yeah.
framework of separation. Okay, so now I'm trying to solve a problem that comes from a core idea of separation with separation. Well, how's that going to work? With some kind of solution that comes out of separation. And that's what we call magic when we do that. So let's just go to quiet answer. No, when we want to that. Go to our diagram. This system that comes from the idea of separation. If you're down here and you're sick, and you're looking for a solution, if you look to the thought system of separation for that solution, there's no real healing. Do you see that?
Mm.
Because you've actually just perpetuated the illusion that you're a body, that you're sick, that you can suffer, that you can die. And the magic doesn't really fix anything. It might temporarily fix the body, but it doesn't heal the mind that believes it is a body and that believes that it can suffer and die. That's the problem. Only a spiritual solution, only a radical forgiveness is going to do that. And so that's what the Course is advocating, saying we'll go into this awareness, which is the Holy Spirit remembers this awareness. Go into this awareness no matter what illusions you're faced with, and then the illusions simply disappear. When you're in this awareness, there are no illusions. They disappear, they're gone, and that disappearing process is what forgiveness or letting go is designed to do. So ultimately, this entire illusory thought system and all of its effects just gets cancelled out. It disappears. And you remain in pure form of awareness of perfect love. Okay, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you've got to look outside of the system of thought that created the problems in order to heal them. There
So
must be a way. What he's saying here, there must be a way in which your problems can be answered. There must be a way in which my problems are resolved, for what it wills has already been done.
yeah.
Question?
Oh yeah, it was just with the Course how we're all bringing our problems to the surface, going round and
Mm,
round and round. And this is obviously a paragraph that would be useful to put to the group.
yeah. To say there is a resolution, but the resolution doesn't come. And you could quote that Einstein quote, the significant problems we face cannot be solved at the same level of thinking we were at when we created them. It's a profound quote and understanding,
Mm. Yeah,
which is
it is.
exactly in alignment with the Course's teaching. It's exactly what he's saying. You can't solve the problems of the ego with the ego. It's never going to work. That's not a healing approach. That's just magic, which is reinforcing the ego identification. And there's no genuine healing there. So it has to be raised up out of that thought system into another one that is a completely different thought system and reality. That's completely outside of this. So most people don't understand this. And so they make the mistake of trying to heal from the perspective of the ego.
Mm.
But then there's no real healing because the ego is still in charge, and the idea of separation is still at the foundation of any attempt to heal. Well, how is that a healing approach when the thought system of separation is the whole problem?
But they don't know that. So, for example, most of the people that say are on the Course,
Mm.
they realize that their issues stem from their childhood, but you can't, what can you do? It happened. It happened. So
Yeah.
and
Well, it didn't
again,
happen. It didn't. See, the
well, it
course takes
happened
you
in
out of
their
that and says, no,
ego mind.
it
Yeah.
didn't really happen. That's
Well,
that's
their
the that's the
perspective,
complete reversal. Yeah.
yeah, their perspective of how they are now, they feel is
Hmm.
obviously come from their childhood. I'm talking about in the ego. So
Hmm.
how are they supposed to get over that? Because that's the idea of these courses is to normally the shadow is because it's come from some trauma in their childhood. So how does the
Yeah.
course address that?
The course says it was never real, right? Whatever
Yeah,
trauma you experienced, whatever pain you suffered, whatever your past history and story, it's part of a story. It's an illusion. This is a dream you've been in. Your
yeah.
childhood is part of a mad dream. And the trauma that you experience there is just the ego trying to convince you that your separate self and the world is real, and to deny the truth of who you are. And you have to let that go. You can't. The problem is, if you try and heal yourself as a human being, you're never
Mm.
going to succeed. Do you see
No,
the
because
problem?
you go on and on
If
and
you,
on
if
and
you try
on.
and maintain your human identity and you say, no, I'm this human separate self, and I have this past and this whole story and this drama and this trauma, and now I've got to heal that as a separate self, you're never going to do it,
No, no.
ever, because you're trying to do it from within the construct of separation that is the whole problem. You are not a separate self. You never were human. That's not true. So if you accept that you are human and then you try and heal, you deny your healing because you were never human. And in fact, all your problems come from the delusion that you're a separate self and that you're human. That's the whole problem.
Mm.
You
Mm.
have to heal that. So I go, okay, into my childhood trauma, and then you rehash it. If you don't come into an awareness that this isn't real, that your childhood was never real, that the trauma you experienced was illusory, a setup by the ego to convince you that you are a separate self that needs to be looked at correctly and undone and just released, you will never heal because it's really happened to you. And you can go round and around in that trauma, believing in your story, and you never heal
Mm. Oh
because
yeah,
there's
no.
no transcendent awareness that says no, this is just not true.
Mm.
And you can't heal it if you've made it real to yourself. You have to recognize its unreality. So you bring it up. The proper healing technique is to bring it into awareness. Go, okay, I've got this trauma. I know it's an issue. I bring it up. I experience it. It can be, very difficult to go through that, relive those emotions. Particularly if there was some really deep emotion. Let's say you were abused as a child, and
Mm.
there was all this fear and pain and guilt and shame, and all of that comes up. Very intense, can be an overwhelming experience, but then you face it. And then in
Mm.
that moment, you bring in the truth and you remind yourself in that moment, none of this is true. This is just my own story. This
Mm.
is a made up story by a make believe self that believes this has really happened to it, but none of it is true. My
Mm.
entire childhood, my entire life experience is simply this masquerading illusion of a separate self character that's playing out its illusions in this dream world. That's what's been going on my entire life. And if you really understand that, and as you face your pain, there's going to be a release, isn't there? It's going to be like, ah, okay, I get it.
Mm. Yeah,
My God, I've
absolutely.
just been playing. I've just been in this dream. This is just a character. This is a role I've been playing for my entire life. I believed in the story. I believed that I'm
Mm.
the victim of this abuse in my past. And actually, it's just not true. And I get that.
Mm.
And when you get that deeply experientially, there's got to be a release, isn't there? You're going to go
Well,
like,
it's often
oh,
stored in the body, isn't it? These traumas are stored in the body somewhere. So I guess once the mind releases it, then eventually the body will slowly release too.
well, it can happen instantaneously. Remember, the subconscious mind and the energy of the body are one.
Mm.
Like you get into your subconscious mind and you start releasing stuff there, then energy changes immediately. And we've seen that in these miraculous healings that have happened
Mm.
throughout history. People like spontaneously healing. Well, how do you heal instantaneously? 70 documented accounts of spontaneous miraculous healings at Lourdes in France. How does that happen? Now, the people have this condition, it gets documented, they go, they see the physician before, it's all written down, it's recorded, photos are taken, they go into the water, voila, suddenly it's gone. How does that happen? Instantaneously. Because there's been a profound shift on a subconscious, mental, emotional level, and then that reflects instantly in the body. That can happen. So it's rare, but it can and it does happen. Because they've gone to another level of awareness. And their story, their identification with that story that made them sick is dropped away. And when that happens on a psychological level, that must mirror in the physical, because the internal is what creates the external. The subjective internal experience of I then creates the external world of the it and the material body and its conditions. That's the truth. If that weren't true, these kinds of miraculous healings wouldn't be possible, would they? But they are. They do happen. They're rare, but they happen. They've been documented. They've been recorded throughout history. This is the way Yeshua healed. There's all these miracles at Lourdes, which are well documented, and there's many others. There's countless, others which have happened to people throughout the course of history. They would not be possible if this principle weren't there, that the healing happens internally, and you go to a higher level. So if you, I'll just zoom in quickly. You see these contour lines. This speaks directly to the quote by Einstein: significant problems faced cannot be solved at the same level of thinking we were at when you created them. Because at this level, let's say you're at an egoic level, and you have a body condition that mirrors that. You're at this kind of contour line of vibrational frequency, right? These are contour lines in the vibrational world. The only way to heal that, you can't heal it at that level. You have to go up in awareness. You have to go up the scale into a higher understanding. And when that kind of shift happens and you go into your higher awareness, then that mirrors in the external, because it's on the same level. And then often you can get these miraculous healings. If you've just shifted profoundly from one level to several levels higher, and that's really happened authentically, then that mirrors often instantly in the physical body. The physical condition just goes away, because it's the cause of it, which is the underlying energy being held in the body, and in the subconscious mind in the body, is gone. So how can it exist without a cause? It can't. And so it disappears and it's healed. And that's how, authentic, miraculous spiritual healing works. You have to go to a higher level in your understanding, outside of the thought system, the level that you were previously at. Okay. So let's go back to number 2. Shall we move on?
Yeah.
So again, read in the alternative. Only translation is God becomes pure formless awareness of perfect love. And it's in the first person, not the third person.
Therefore, it must be that time is not required and every problem can be answered now. Yet it must also be that in my current state of mind, solution is impossible. Therefore, pure formless awareness of perfect love must have given me a way of reaching to another state of mind in which the answer is already there. Such is the wholly aware moment. It is here that all my problems should be brought and left. Here they belong, for here is their answer. And where its answer is, a problem must be simple and easy resolved. It must be pointless to attempt to solve a problem where the answer cannot be. Yet if it's brought to where the answer is, it must just as surely be resolved. So it's just saying that this wholly aware moment is where all our answers are, and
Mm,
problems outside of that just never will be found. As we were talking about again, you just go round and round, and
mm.
yeah.
You can only find it in another thought system, in another awareness that completely transcends the ego. And there's no
Mm,
reconciliation between those two. You can't have a little bit of the ego and a little bit of the spirit and somehow make that work. And that's where the non-dual teaching comes in. It
mm,
says you can't compromise, you can't have illusion and truth together. The dark and the light are completely opposite. So you must choose. You must choose. That's the way out of the dilemma, choice. And when you choose correctly, that's healing. When you choose incorrectly, then you just perpetuate the ego, and the pain and the misery and the suffering continue.
just repeat, yeah.
Yeah. And the ego, remember, doesn't want you to heal. So it wants you to continuously dwell on the past and on your story and on your trauma and on your drama, and go over and over and
Mm,
over that again and again and again to reinforce the separate self-concept that you believe in. And this is where many healing modalities go wrong.
mm,
Think of psychotherapy. That's why
mm,
Yeshua at some point says, of course, well, nothing really happens in psychotherapy. Why? Because conventionally, you just spin around and you're talking about your past experience. And if you keep doing that and there's no letting go, then you just reinforce the self-concept, the separate self-concept, which is the
mm,
whole problem. And you can get stuck in therapy for 10 years doing that, paying an absolute fortune to go absolutely nowhere. You're not going
mm,
anywhere. You're just on a hamster on a wheel, just going around. Oh, there we go. Go to my therapist again, and I have my hour, and I speak, and then he's like, "Right, I'll see you again next time. Same time next week." Yeah, great. Like,
just
hang
go round
on,
and round, yeah.
round and around. You should be dealing with it and clearing it. A good therapist should go like, "Look, we'll do maybe 3, 4, 5 sessions, and then you should be done.
Yeah.
Not come back for 10 years." Like
Mm,
if I'm doing my job, I'm helping you to clear this stuff, and then you're free and you're released and you don't need to come again.
mm,
Ideally, but obviously it's not a
yeah.
great business model, is it? Because you lose all your clients after a few sessions.
Mm, mm,
But then, then that would, if you're truly trusting, you'd go, well, there'll be more. I'll get new clients, and the spirit will look after me and bring me clients, because I'll get referrals. People will
mm,
refer and say, yeah, this guy's amazing. This person's amazing. They really helped me and healed me in a few sessions, and didn't take me years of going around and around, in a futile loop going nowhere. I actually, healed in a few months, and I don't need the therapy now. I'm able to, it's empowered me. True healing should empower me to be able to live a healthy, happy, functional life on my own, and give me some of the tools and skills that I need to do that, rather than, oh, no, I need to go into therapy and I need to be stuck in a victim kind of identity with a therapist who's somehow above me and knows more than me. I mean, this is nonsense. The therapist doesn't know more than you. They're the same as you.
mm,
But you see how, these systems don't necessarily lend themselves to healing, because the egos behind them, it's constructed them as just more, more traps. We get stuck in these feedback loops we can't get out. Do you remember, did you watch The Matrix, all the Matrix movies?
yeah, one of them, yes, the main one.
You just watched the main one. Yeah. There was a second and a third one. And in one of the second ones, he gets caught in a computer program and he can't get out. It's like a
Mm,
feedback loop. He's in a subway, and he
mm,
he he walks out the tunnel, and it doesn't go anywhere. He comes back and it's like, oh, I'm caught in a loop. I can't escape. Is that so? That's what often happens. We just get caught in this
mm,
endless feedback
yes.
loop. We can't escape it, and he needs to be broken out of the system. He's got to get out of that system where the ego rules. And his
Mm.
powers there, it was interesting because his powers disappear in that system. And the ego comes in and goes, I rule the roost here. I'm in charge here. It's
Mm.
my rules. And he needs to be broken out of that system by his friends, taken out of this. So spiritually, that's what we're all trying to do. Don't get stuck into patterns that repeat, and that can include healing. What's supposed to be healing can just be more of the same, just going over the same ground again. Nothing's really changing, nothing's really shifting, and then you get stuck, sometimes for years. Okay, so I'm happy to go on to number 3.
Yeah, yeah. The alternative, yeah.
Yeah, you can just do an alternative.
I only attempt to solve my apparent problems within the certainty of the wholly aware moment. For there the problem will be answered and resolved. Outside of it, there will be no solution, for there is no answer there that could ever be found. Outside of the now, I will never ask a single simple question.
That needs a bit of adjustment.
Hmm.
Nowhere outside a single simple question is ever asked. So number 4. Let's just see, outside of the now, nowhere outside a single simple question is ever asked. Outside of the now, I'll never ask a single simple question. Is that a good translation? Nowhere outside. It's a bit clumsy, this. Nowhere outside, you understand? Nowhere outside a single simple question is ever asked. A single
So
simple question is never asked
nowhere outside.
outside.
So meaning, the
Hmm.
ego, if you're wanting to get any answers from the ego, then it's, like you say, just going to be
Yeah.
spinning around.
A simple question. Can never be asked outside of my awareness, maybe my inner awareness, outside of my mind. Does that make sense? Just not a single simple question can never
Yeah,
be asked by mind.
a single simple question can never be asked outside of my mind. Yeah,
Let's phrase it even differently. I can never ask, make it personal. I can ask a single simple question outside of my mind, outside of my inner self. What do you think? Inner self, mind. Because he says outside, but nowhere outside, but I think
I
it needs
can
to be
never ask a single simple question outside of my inner self. Yeah, that makes sense.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, carry on. Belief in separation.
The belief in separation can only ask a paradoxical question, but a question with many answers can have no real answers. None of them will work. It does not ask a question to be answered, but only to restate its point of view.
Hmm. So can you think
Yeah.
of an example of how it does that?
Um, you mean if I'm asking myself a question,
Yeah.
like, am I ever going to be Well,
Well, for instance, are we talking about being a victim and the whole
people
past story?
pleaser. Will I ever
You
stop
keep
being a
asking
people
yourself,
pleaser?
why did this happen to me? Why did this happen to me? Why am I the victim? Why am I so unfortunate? There's no answer there, is there? You're actually
No,
just restating your point of view. You're restating the ego's point of view that it did happen to you and that you're the victim. If you ask
right.
that kind of question. It's a assumptive
Yeah.
question. It assumes that you are a victim and it's really happened, doesn't it?
Mm,
If you want to take that to a metaphysical level, you could say, well, how could the separation ever have happened? If there's only perfect oneness, how is it possible that the separation could have happened? That's taking it to a non-personal metaphysical level, but it's the same question.
mm,
It's really just restating the ego's point of view that the separation did happen. Do you see that? You're
mm,
not really asking a question outside of the ego system. You're just restating its point of view in a question form.
mm, mm,
So there's
mm,
no genuine awakening that can come from that because the question is an assumptive question that dictates the answer.
mm.
Within the framework of the ego, within the thought system of the ego, you get the answer.
So when there's no answer, then that's actually the answer, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's asking the right question. Instead of asking, how could this happen to me? You could ask, did it even happen to me? That's a better question, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Did this even really happen? Oh, that's a different kind of question. Now the mind goes, oh, okay, well, how do I know it happened? What evidence do I have that my past really happened?
Mm-hmm.
What evidence do I have? Okay, I have a memory. Okay, but that's just a memory. That's just like something in my mind. There's nothing tangible. Maybe I have a physical hurt. Maybe I got hurt in the past. I'm disabled. I'm sick. Then the egos go, oh, okay, well, there's the evidence. But 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 maybe that evidence is false.
Mm,
Maybe the body is just a false witness to this false thought system. This is so now I'm starting to ask these kinds of better questions. Well, how do I know this is true? Byron Katie, the work starts
oh
with two
yeah.
questions.
Mm,
Is this true? And then the second question, just to reinforce it, is can I absolutely know that it's true? Can I, with 100% absolute certainty, know that this idea, belief, thought, whatever I'm thinking is true? And if it's egoic, there's no way you can say that with 100% certainty. Can you absolutely say that you're a victim of the world? No, you just can't.
mm,
That's an opinion, it's a perception, it's a judgment. It's not absolutely true. And so you start questioning correctly and undoing the ego's construct by asking the right questions, you see.
mm, mm,
But don't ask assumptive questions. Don't ask, how did the separation happen? Or why did this happen to me? Or why am I suffering so much? Or why am I the unlucky one in life? Why do I always suck the hind tit? Etc. Don't ask those questions because they're assumptive questions. They just
mm,
restate the ego's belief that it's a victim and that the separation's happened. Start asking better questions like, can I absolutely know? If you're thinking, well, I'm just a victim of life and I'm always hardly done by, ask the question, well, can I know do I know that's true? Do I know that statement's true? And then your mind goes, well, maybe not. Maybe it's not absolutely true because there's actually some evidence that it's not true. I have had some good things happen in my life. We all have. Okay, so can I absolutely know that statement is true? No, I can't know. And then you start to reject it, don't you? If you ask the right questions, you start to question that belief, then the belief starts to be undermined and you start to be able to let it go, which is why her approach, the questioning approach, is helpful. If you ask the right question and the question goes to the truth of it. That's why she only says ask one question.
for
Is
example.
Well, let's say in this group you were talking about, people are talking about childhood trauma, someone was abused, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going, well, why did that happen to me? No, don't
Right.
ask that question. Reframe it. Say,
Mm-hmm.
can you absolutely know that that is true, that you were
Right.
abused, that you're hardly done by, that you're a victim, all those thoughts. Can you absolutely know that that's true about yourself? And the answer is you can't. So then you start deconstructing that belief with the question, don't you? And that's why the work that she does is a healing approach, because it starts deconstructing the assumption in the mind that it is a victim. And it starts questioning that and undoing it with the questioning process. And whenever you undo the ego, then you heal. And you know, some profound transformations have happened. So questions, but the right kinds of questions. Don't ask egoic questions, which are assumptive questions. Ask
Mm.
questions that actually question the underlying fabric and reality of the ego. That's what you want to do. Those kinds of questions are good questions.
So, for example, I could say, what am I, who am I without my memories or my imaginings?
Yeah.
And that would be the question to
Question.
point me to
Yes.
the,
Yeah.
yeah.
Who
So
am I
that's,
really? Beyond my past, my conditioning, beyond my imagined future, beyond my fears and my desires, my grievances, my hurts, my pains. Who am I beyond my story? Who am I beyond Elaine?
these are the questions, yes.
That's a good question, because it gets
Yeah.
the mind going, okay, well, actually, it's an open question. It's inviting an open answer. A
Mm.
closed question invites a closed answer within the thought system of the ego. You
Yeah.
see?
Mm-hmm.
Well, why does this always happen to me? Why am I always, you know, the victim of the world? Well, you've closed it. It's not open to debate then. You've assumed by the question
Mm-hmm.
that you are a victim, you see. It's a
Yes.
closed question. It's not a good
Yeah.
question. It
Mm.
doesn't open you up to healing. And so
Okay.
these are subtle things. It's simple, actually. It's a simple thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It is. It is. Very
But
simple.
you ask the right questions, you'll start getting the right answers. You ask the wrong questions,
You're
you
going
hit
around
a
in
dead end.
circles. Yeah.
Oh, you go around in circles. Why am
Yeah.
I a victim of the world? Well, you just assumed you are a victim of the world, and you're not questioning that. So it's not a good question. It's just
Yes.
an assumptive question that restates the reality that you want.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, if anyone is caught up in that, any healer facilitator would say, no, stop asking those questions. Let's reframe it.
Yeah.
Start asking the right kind of questions.
Exactly.
And then you
Yes.
might get, you know, you might get answers that are actually helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good point. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very good.
And so out of this, you know, if you look at modalities like the Socratic method of questioning, the method of inquiry that Byron Katie uses, the work, 4 questions. Ramana Maharshi, his whole teaching was just inquire, just question. Who am I?
Self-inquiry. Oh, yes.
You know, he said to people would come to him with pain and suffering, and then he'd say, well, who suffers? Who's
Mm-hmm.
suffering? It's a good question, isn't it? Who
It
is
is.
the self that's suffering? Oh, okay. So maybe it starts questioning the underlying reality of the self
Mm-hmm.
and bringing that into question. Okay, well, maybe I'm not the self that suffered. Maybe that self that's suffering is just an illusion. It opens the door to that awareness, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think you get the point. You know, I start
Yeah.
asking those kinds of questions and you'll
Simple.
start
Yeah.
getting the answers. So if you find
Mm-hmm.
yourself caught up in, oh, Elaine, you know, why am I always sucking the hunted? Why is life so difficult for me? Or
Mm-hmm.
you know, don't ask those questions because it just assumes that it is. And there's
Exactly.
no
Yeah.
way out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Ask yourself, well, who's suffering right now? Who's feeling upset right now? Who's feeling the pain right now? Who's sick?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who's the one who suffers? Is this Elaine? Or is this something else? Is this some illusion of a self that I've invented that I call Elaine?
Mm-hmm.
Suffering. You know, these are good questions, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
They go
There.
to the heart of the matter, which is your identity, your self-concept. And they ask you to question that. And you keep doing that. This method of inquiry was what Ramana taught. He didn't teach forgiveness per se, but he taught a method of inquiry that then helps you to question your false beliefs and let them go. So the same thing, just a different approach. You question through the inquiry, you come to the realization and you let go of the false beliefs. It's the same effect. You ultimately will let go of your false beliefs through the questioning. All right. Number 3, I think. Attempt to
Number
solve
4.
my problem.
Was it not number 4? Yeah, number 4 we're on.
In 3, yeah. All questions asked within this world are just a way of perceiving. They're not really a question asked. So
Just go in the
building.
alternative.
Hmm?
Yeah, I'll just start reading in the alternative, shall I? Yeah.
Oh, that's fine.
All questions asked within this world are just a way of perceiving and not really a question asked. A question asked in hate cannot be answered because it is an answer in itself. A paradoxical question asks and answers, both attesting the same thing in different form. The world asks only one question. It is this: of these illusions, which of them is true? Which one establishes peace and offers joy? And which one can bring escape from all the pain of which the world is made? Whatever form the question takes, its purpose is the same. It asks only to establish sin is real and answers in the form of preference. Which sin do I prefer? That is the one that I should choose. The others are not true. What can the body get that I would want the most of all? It is my servant and also my friend. But tell it what I want, and it will serve me lovingly and well. And this is not a question, for it tells me what I want and where to go for it. It leaves no room to question its beliefs, except that what it states takes questions form. So again, it's all about questions and what we ask ourselves. And if we ask a question in hate, and it can't be answered because it's an answer in itself. And paradoxical questions asks and answers, both the same, but in different forms. So really, the world asks only one question. If these illusions were true, which one establishes peace and offers joy? And which one brings escape from the pain which the world has made? So it's all about questions.
Trying to find a way within the dream. Okay, there's got to be a dream that will work. This is the ego's mindset. There's got to be a version of the dream that will work. It will heal me. That's going to bring peace and joy and everything I want. And I'm gonna pursue that. And I'm gonna look outside of myself for that solution. And on we go. We can try that endlessly, can't we?
Oh yeah.
From one to another, this one. And it's just constant disappointment. You're going to be disappointed forever because the answer doesn't lie outside of you.
No.
It's in your own mind, in your own fundamental awareness. It's nowhere outside of you. It's not in this world. So all of these questions are really just saying, well, which illusion do I prefer? And illusions are the product of sin. So which sin do I prefer? That is the one I should choose. Oh, well, maybe it's a better version of sin. Maybe I'll make a lot of money and I'll live a hedonistic lifestyle. Oh, that's a nice one. Okay, I'll go for that then. You see, I'll become a celebrity. I'll become a star. I'll have lots of money. I'll have pleasure. And you go, that's going to work. And obviously, it's not going to work. But the ego tells you it's going to work. And we try and kid ourselves that that's going to work. And he's saying, don't kid yourself. There's actually no room in that kind of questioning to question its beliefs, except that what it states takes the form of a question. Okay? So it's a statement of the ego's belief, but it takes the form of a question. So it's kind of smoke and mirrors. You think it's a question that's leading somewhere, but it's not. It's actually just a dead-end question that's a statement of the ego's apparent reality. So you've got to learn to discern those kinds of questions and go, okay, like can I really see what's going on here? And then, don't be fooled. Oh, that's not actually a question. That's a statement. Someone's questioning. I had that experience. Someone's questioning you, but they're not really questioning you to genuinely find out. They're questioning you to try and assert their point of view.
Mm.
Have you ever had those comments? It's like, well, that's not a genuine conversation. Not actually questioning, really being open to the answer. You're questioning, trying to manipulate the answer so that your point of view is strengthened. So he's saying just don't do that with yourself, don't do it with others. Ask truly open questions. Like a question like, who am I really? That's an open question. Who am I really? Beyond the body, beyond my illusion of a self, beyond my problems, beyond my fears, my desires, my expectations, my life story, my conditioning, my past, my future. Who am I? That's the question. And that's an open question that invites an open answer. Whereas, why am I always suffering? Why am I always so unlucky in life? Why has this happened to me? Why was I abused as a child? Why did my wife leave me? Why? On and on. That's a closed question. There's no hope in that kind of question. So then he goes, hello? Hello?
Yeah, I seem to have lost you, but I don't know what happened there.
Right, okay.
Just check that I'm on the correct Wi-Fi thing there.
It's my connection.
Yeah, no, I am. I'm on the correct Wi-Fi. Yeah, so don't know what's happened there.
So pseudo question. Do you want to read that? Pseudo question is
no answer. Yeah. A pseudo question has no answer. It dictates the answer even as it asks. Therefore, all questioning within the world is a form of propaganda for the world, just as the body's witnesses are only the senses confirming its reality from within itself. So are the answers to the questions of the world contained within the questions that are asked. Where answers represent the questions, they add nothing new and nothing has been learned. An honest question is a learning tool that asks for something that I do not know. It does not set conditions for response, but merely asks what the response should be. But no one in a conflict state is free to ask this question, for he does not want an honest answer where the conflict ends. Yeah. So, if you're in conflict and you're asking a pseudo question, then that conflict will give you the answer. So it's saying within all questioning is really all lies coming from the world.
And so, many people will ask the question, oh, no, I really want healing. I really want to be changed, but they keep asking the wrong questions. Why did this happen to me? Why am I so unfortunate? Why did this happen? On and on and on. And it's a closed question. There's no openness to the genuine answer that can come. So a good teacher would interrupt that and say, no, don't ask yourself, why did this happen to me? Ask, did it even happen to me? And that's why, in the work, Byron Katie just reframes it. She says, turn it around. If you say someone has hurt me, I'm really upset because this person's hurt me, turn it around and say, well, maybe I'm upset because I hurt me. They didn't hurt me, I hurt me. So you're questioning it, aren't you? You're questioning the fixed perception of the story with your question. That's what a good question is. A bad question just perpetuates the same old story. And people who stuck in ego don't want questions. In human history, we've had oppressive regimes throughout human history who don't want people to question them. Because the question invites an honest answer, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it working this way? Why are you doing that? Why? Well, does this make any sense? Maybe there's a better way. Invites something else. And they don't want that. They just want more of the same. Which is why, the people who question, typically the, more awakened, liberal, and enlightened intelligentsia, they call them in these societies, then get suppressed. They're like, we're going to take them out because they ask too many questions. I was once in a retreat. I couldn't believe it. The teacher was like, just zip it. I don't want to hear your
Oh, I
questions.
remember, yes, I remember you
I'm like,
saying,
that's shocking. Like,
yeah,
what authentic teacher says that? I was like, fine, question all you like. That's how we learn.
yeah.
I've got nothing to hide. But he did. What he was teaching wasn't the truth. So when I questioned it, the untruth of it would have been revealed, and he didn't want that. So then just stop the questioning. And that's exactly what the ego does. So just be aware of that in yourself. To not question honestly is really to be self-deceiving, because you're actually saying you don't want an honest answer in which the conflict will end. You're saying you want to perpetuate the ego. The answers represent the questions. They add nothing new and nothing has been learned. Same old system. It's in a guise of a question, but there's no real question. There's no real openness to the genuine answer. That's what he's saying. Okay, happy with that one?
Yeah, yes. Okay.
Okay.
Only within the wholly aware moment can I ask an honest question. And from the meaning of the question, the meaningfulness of the answer does come. Here is it possible to separate my wishes from the answer, so it can be given to me and I can also receive it. The answer is provided everywhere, yet it is only here it can be heard. An honest answer asks for no sacrifice because it answers questions truly asked. The questions of the world only ask of whom sacrifice is demanded, asking not if sacrifice is meaningful at all. And so, unless the answer tells of whom, I will not recognize and hear it. And therefore, the question is preserved. Preserved intact because it gave the answer to itself. The wholly aware moment is the interval in which the mind is still enough to hear an answer. So it's just saying that this.
No, you haven't finished, so hear an
Oh,
answer is not
yes.
tell.
Oh, yeah. The wholly aware moment is the interval in which the mind is still enough to hear an answer that is not entailed within the question asked. It offers something new and different from the question. How could it be answered if it just repeats itself? Yeah, which is what we've been talking about. We're all repeating
Yeah, which
ourselves.
is all perfect, go around in a circle and here's the teaching. So, okay, well, don't you keep asking the wrong questions. So you're getting bad answers because the questions aren't correct.
Mm.
There's no true answer if you just endlessly repeat. If someone is stuck in, well, how could this happen to me? Why did this happen to me? And they keep asking those questions.
Shadows,
There's no,
yeah, it's just, yeah, or they'll put it in a different form. This is a shadow, or this has been a
yeah,
trauma, this or the other. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And the real question is, did this even really happen?
Mm.
Did it even happen? And who did it happen to? Like,
Mm-hmm.
who is the one who suffers here? Who is the one who was traumatized?
Mm-hmm.
Good question. Well, maybe that self is just an illusion.
Yeah.
So if you're interacting in the group, throw in some of those questions and see what happens. Because those are the kinds of questions that really make people think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just get off the endless track of, oh, well, it's just my ego's drama and the trauma, and I'm just going around and around in the drama and the trauma.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
actually, honestly speaking, if you look at it objectively, many of them don't want to heal.
Yeah, I
They
think you're
say
right,
they
actually.
don't
Yes,
really
you're
want.
right. Because I know one
Yeah.
chap, when Sally was giving some advice, he just said, no, I don't want to hear that advice. He was quite upset that she
Mm,
was giving some instruction and he didn't like it.
mm.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's,
You
yeah.
come and you just want to air your grievances uh, and you don't really want to heal. But what's the point of that? Well,
Yeah.
the point from the ego's point of view is just to reinforce the separate identity. So then, if that's happening a lot, then the group gets hijacked and
Mm.
becomes, yeah, it's the ego is dominating it then. If there's
Oh,
no,
yeah. Yeah.
transformation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these kinds of questions can be, asked, and someone, people who don't want to heal, they won't like it because
No,
they don't
no.
want to heal, so they'll reject it. But it is the correct thing to do. You
Yeah.
question it, and
Hmm.
and those who have eyes, those who are open and willing, might go, oh, that's a good question. I didn't think about it that way. The questioning just leads to another thought system. And that's
Mm.
the value of the questions. As you said, they can be a very helpful learning tool.
Mm.
Honest question is a learning tool that asks for something that I do not know. That's its purpose. It invites that. It doesn't assume that I already know. Whereas a poor question assumes that I already know the answer. Well, then why even bothering to ask the question if you already have the answer? If you want to believe you're a victim, why ask? Why did
Mm.
this happen to me? Because you actually want the answer to be, well, it happened to you because you're really hardly done by, and your whatever your story is as to why it happened. You want that answer to be true. There's no genuine willingness to let it go. Okay, so
Mhm.
last one, number 7. Therefore, I tend to solve no problems.
Therefore, I attempt to solve no problems in a world from which the answers has been barred, but instead I bring the problem to the only place that holds the answer lovingly for me. Here are the answers that will solve my problems because they stand apart from them and correctly perceive what the question is and what can be answered. Within the world, the answers merely raise another question, though they leave the first unanswered. But in the wholly aware moment of now, I can bring the question to the answer and receive the answer that was designed for me.
Hmm.
So, yeah, it's just saying if we try to attempt to solve problems in a world that just has it completely barred and no
Hmm.
help, they're asking us to bring the problem and answer to our only place, which holds this answer for lovingly, and these will solve all our problems because they stand apart.
Yeah.
Uh,
The answer's already there. You see, I bring the question to the answer. Isn't that an interesting way of framing it? Not I reveal the answer through the question. It's I bring the question to the answer because the answer's already there, and receive the answer that was designed for me. Maybe the capital A there might. So the answer is the truth. The answer is this non-dual awareness of a transcendent self and reality that lie beyond as well. That's the answer. So I bring the question to that pre-existing answer. That answer is already there, but the question invites the answer to be revealed. That's what a good question does. You see, it's an invitation for the answer to now come into my awareness. Okay. Any other thoughts on that? Let's do the summary. Okay. We can close it off there if you want, or I'm happy to go on and do the lesson, but up to you. So
Yeah, I'd better finish here because I've got some immediate things to do. Yeah, but yes. So in stillness and quiet, all problems find their resolution. Conflict prevents answers from becoming clear, especially when I'm embroiled in it. If pure formless awareness of perfect love provides solutions, then a way must exist for my questions to be answered. Although my current mindset might obstruct them, it should be evident to me that real answers can't be limited by time and space. Pure formless awareness of perfect love provides a means to attain a mindset where all the answers to my authentic questions are already there.
Okay.
So it's just saying while we're in this stillness and quietness, this is where our problems are resolved. And that they're saying conflict prevents the answers from becoming clear. So while we're asking a question in the conflict, then, well, as you say, we just go around in circles. So it'll just be obstructed if we're in this current mindset of the separate self.
Yeah. So the question is a tool to awaken you. That's what he's saying. It can be a profound tool, and we've seen that, in the work that Byron Katie formulated. It's a process of questioning. Starts with
Is this absolutely true?
Is it true? Yeah. Is it true? And is it absolutely true? Double, just in case you should be confused by the first, and I'll fudge it and I'll say it's true. Can I know absolutely with 100% certainty that this is true? And you can't really say anything in this world of that. You can't say that of anything in this world. And then you turn it around and you say, okay, well, I'll turn this around and I'll change the statement. If I'm asking why did this happen to me, you could reframe it and ask a better question and say, well, who is the self that that I believe this happened to? That's a better question, isn't it? Which invites the correct answer. Okay, so then carry on. The space of clarity is known as the wholly aware moment.
The space of clarity is known as the wholly aware moment, where I should bring all my concerns and let them be. Questions asked in this world are often distorted and can't be straightforwardly answered, especially those originating from a state of malice. The world's queries resolve around determining which illusions are genuinely and thereby misguidedly seeking to establish the reality of sin. So the clarity is in this wholly aware moment, and that's where we bring all our concerns. Questions asked in the world are often distorted and just misleading, and it's coming from a state of malice.
Yeah, let's change that to sin. A state of from a belief in sin. If you believe in sin, your whole perspective is distorted. Every question you ask is distorted by that belief. And when you start questioning, as Yeshua did, he questioned this whole construct of sin and guilt when he was alive, and the Pharisees and the Sadducees didn't like it at all. because he's questioning the foundation of their thought system and saying you guys are leading people down the garden path, into it's this your entire belief system is false. It's really what he was saying, because he was asking these kinds of questions. So beware, if people don't want you to ask, honest, open questions, that's like, it's a sign there's not truth there, is there?
Mm. Mm.
Truth is like, well, ask me whatever question, any question, even if it's a completely, stupid question. A true master will answer it kindly and generously, because to that person, it's not a stupid question. In the moment, they're asking it because they want it. And if it's a misguided question, they could just redirect it. Say, well, instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Why don't you ask, is it really happening to me? And who is it seemingly happening to? Those are better questions. Okay, so most questions don't seek real answers.
Most questions don't seek real answers, but rather reaffirm my existing ingrained beliefs. It's crucial that I recognize that authentic questions are tools for learning and seeking knowledge that isn't already known to me. However, in a state of internal conflict, I can't genuinely ask or hope for honest answers. The wholly aware moment allows for my true questioning and receiving of real answers. Outside this space, the world's questions only perpetuate cycles of confusion. In contrast, within the wholly aware moment of now, I can confidently allow my questions to meet their answers that are already there and will be revealed to me when the time is right. Well, again, it's just going on about most questions that we seek answers are really just reaffirming existing ingrained beliefs. So like us all harping on about our childhood.
Yeah.
And then we need to recognize the authentic questions and tools for learning and seeking the knowledge that isn't already known to me. We already have the answer. Sorry, what was that question that you asked yourself? I think I'll write that down because I found that. You said, there's the one good question to ask yourself to see the truth. You said something. What was it again?
Yeah, well, if you're in any kind of negative space and you're suffering, you go, who suffers? Who's the one who suffers? Who's
And
suffering? Who's experiencing this?
Yeah.
And if you're honest about that, you'll go, well, this is this character even real? Is Elaine the suffering, complaining one? Is that even real, or am I just making that up?
Yeah.
So who suffers? Who does whatever it is that you're doing? Who's doing it? Who's experiencing this? Who suffers? Who's doing it? These are questions that point you to a higher answer.
Yeah. Just I'll do some self-inquiry.
Yeah. It's another way of inviting, letting go. The question starts the process. Okay, so I'm in suffer. I believe I'm suffering, but who's suffering? And if you really deeply inquire on that and question, you start seeing that the suffering self is an illusion. That this is made up. That you don't have to suffer. Okay. So trying to resolve issues in the world. Last one, and then the key message.
Trying to resolve issues in a world that blocks any real solutions is futile. Instead, I should present my challenges where the answers awaits in gentle kindness. The genuine answers lie apart from the problem and make the questions I ask to receive them sensible. Receive them sensible. While the world might offer further questions and spurious answers, to the problem of separation in the wholly aware moment. I am led to true answers and solutions designed specifically for me. So it's just saying that trying to resolve issues in a world that blocks solutions is futile. So it's just saying, we should present our challenges where the answers awaits us in gentle kindness. Yeah.
Yeah. It's why the world is very stuck. We have all this scientific knowledge and yet, still we get stuck in problems. Why? Because we're not asking the right questions. Scientists are not asking, well, is this actually true? They don't ask, is our whole paradigm of scientific materialism true? They just assume it's true. And then they ask questions within that framework. Whereas, the true question says, how do we even know this is true? You're assuming consciousness comes from the brain, for instance. And then, you proceed from that assumption. How do you know that's true? What if there's an awareness beyond the brain and the body that is completely transcendent? These are good sort of questions to ask, but they lead to the deconstruction of the whole system. Good questions eventually deconstruct the system that they question, which is why the people who believe dogmatically in these systems don't like people who question them, because it's the thin edge of the wedge. You start questioning enough, and the whole false illusion falls apart. And that's why oppressive regimes throughout history have always, suppressed people who question them, because it's the beginning of the end. Enough people entertain those questions, it all comes into doubt, and people see through it and go, well, no, this doesn't make any sense, really. They don't want people to question. So just the key message to wrap it all up.
In stillness, in stillness, I find genuine answers to my questions and solutions to my problems. The world's questions are often distorted and designed to perpetuate these problems. But in wholly aware moments of pure formless awareness, I can find true answers I seek. Real solutions lie beyond my worldly confusion, waiting for me in the spacious clarity that pure formless awareness of perfect love always provides. Yeah. It's the stillness, back to the stillness, yeah. Simple, but we all struggle with.
Yeah. So you ask the questions, and it genuinely, if you really want the answer, sometimes you leave it. You don't seek an immediate answer. You ask a question, and okay, I'm not seeking instant answers. I'm willing to just sit with the question and let it percolate in, and trust that an answer will come when I need it. Spacious clarity that pure formless awareness of perfect love always provides. Okay, so any other thoughts on that, Lynn?
No, that was very good. Yes, very relevant to my experience today.
Yeah, good.
Yep, very good.
Yes. Yeah. Very good. Very good. Yay!
Yay.
All right. So yeah, well done. And I'll see you tomorrow or Thursday?
Yeah, because I'm still very quiet with work at the moment. Obviously, I finished the hairdressers, so I'm not quite, I'm a little bit more flexible at the moment. So yeah, just whatever's good for you, either Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think Wednesday, tomorrow night should be okay.
Right. Yep. Yeah, that's good.
6 o'clock. Good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Okay.
Okie doke.
I'll see you then.
See you then. Bye, Jono. Namaste.
Okay.
Namaste.
Thanks, Elaine. Bye.
Bye.
Namaste. Okay, so actually, let's just look at just going to share my screen again briefly. We'll just spend 5 minutes on the lesson. So this is just to complete the session. We're going to look at lesson 226. So my home awaits me. I will hasten there. The theme of coming home, or in the alternative, my home in the state of perfect love awaits me, and so I choose this state now. So if I so choose, I can depart this world entirely. It is not death which makes this possible, but it is change of mind about the purpose of the world. If I believe it has a value as I perceive it now, so will it still remain for me. But if I perceive no value in the world, nothing that I want to keep as mine or search for as a goal, I will escape from it. For then I will not have sought for illusions to replace the truth. So saying let's let go of all our illusions, not perceiving any value in this world means letting go of any perceived value in an illusion. And without value and meaning and purpose, this world becomes meaningless and valueless and purposeless, and you can free your mind from its grip. Basically letting go of all your attachments to the world is what he's pointing to here. So then there's a prayer. My Father or my source, my home awaits my glad return. I hear your voice and surrender into your comforting embrace. The original is your arms are open, I hear your voice. What need have I to linger in a place of vain desires and of shattered dreams when heaven can so easily be mine? So what need do I have to linger in a place of futile desires and shattered dreams when the state of pure formless awareness can so easily be mine? That is a good question. A lot of questions. Ends this lesson on the question, what need do I really have to linger here, to be in a place like this? When the state of pure formless awareness, which is eternally blissful, can so easily be mine? That's a good question. So just ponder that question. Why do you need to stay in a world where there's all this striving and stressing, straining, and striving, futile desires, much disappointment, the shattered dreams he talks about, when you could just have eternal bliss in a state of pure formless awareness that completely transcends the world and any of these elements that we inevitably experience here, the desires, the disappointments, rejection, abandonment, guilt, sin, fear, attack thoughts. All of this is gone. All of it's gone. So just take a nice deep breath in. Connect with this state of pure awareness. Invite it in. Ask yourself, what need do I have to linger in a place of futile desires and shattered dreams when the state of pure formless awareness can so easily be mine? And wait for the answer, which is surely obvious. You don't have a need. There is no need in this world. So connect with that presence, that essence. Set the intention to stay here in this awareness. Top yourself up with a lesson. Just remind yourself, if the ego comes calling and you find yourself going out of it, that my home in the state of perfect love awaits me, and so I choose this state now. Or my home awaits me, I will hasten there, if you prefer the original, just to top you up, reconnect with your source. If you're in the program, then you have a breath break, short breath break to help you to do that, to practice the lesson, top you up and keep you at home. Remember, you only ever one breath away from home. So on that note, I'm going to wish you goodbye. Thank you for joining the session, and I hope to see you again soon. So if you'd like to take this further, you can join the Telegram group by going to lifepool.com, and you can join our Telegram group where you'll get access to some of the material I shared, the daily quote, your lessons, some commentary on that. I send out free meditations and shorter breath breaks that I just referred to, and you'll get notified about when I go live, so you'll be able to join the live calls in Zoom with a Zoom link. So at lifepool.com. If you're not quite ready for that, then why not just subscribe to the channel, and you'll be notified whenever I live stream, and be able to access the recording thereafter on YouTube. So yeah, I hope you'll take the next step. Hope to connect with you soon on the inside. Wishing you much love, peace, and joy, and namaste, which means the fully aware truth in me, the true self in me, acknowledges and honors that same true self, which knows love is the only truth. I acknowledge that in you. Wishing you much love, peace, and joy.